Hello everyone, this is Menz here. I'm going to be re-recording this really old replay I have of a match dating back in the T110E5 on Dragon's Ridge back to June 2012. Now this match, of course Dragon Ridge currently is not in the game in World of Tanks, at least on PC. T110E5 has been rebalanced a couple times since this replay as well, and this was all the way back when matchmaking, the spread was a little bit more relaxed, whereas you can see there's tier 6 tanks in this match, poor tier 6 Hellcat on the enemy team specifically, but dating back then, they actually did not even have tier 10 tank destroyers, tier 10 light tanks, tier 10 medium tanks. It was just tier 10 heavy tanks. So in this match, T110E5, pretty much your top dog here, considering that the enemy team only has 2 other tier 10s, and one of them, you know, the T110E5, and I believe the other is the IS-4. As you can see, the graphics back then, wow, we've come a long way since 2012 with the graphics here. And Dragon Ridge was actually considered to be one of the better looking maps in the game. Now this replay, since it is very old, has not aged very well. It is a little bit you know, on the blurry side. It was only, when I recorded this, I recorded it in 720p, and I used to have a GTX 560 Ti, so the graphics, they're mostly turned up but not completely all the way. I got a nice hit on the pershing there. So Dragon Ridge, you'll notice I set up in the center here at the bottom, kind of at the right where it starts ducking down the ridge, but I set right on the other edge here and starting to get some shots here, and the enemy team is going to be the aggressors. Now, coming such a far away, you know, this is basically you know, more or less 60 years ago, to where, as you notice, no premium rounds, at least from what I carry. You'll see later on a little blue tint to a tracer. Someone was firing premium, but no premium rounds back then, to where you're capable of actually soaking up quite a bit of damage in, you know, a top tier heavy, even the E5 that does have some weak spots on it. But dealing some damage here. There weren't even damage indicators back then. I believe mods might have shown them, but this match, the only mod I'm using, it's called Jimbo's Crosshair mod, way back then. I almost fall off the cliff here. It does not look like a cliff, but you can basically fall off on Dragon's Ridge into like the little rice paddies, and you're basically taking yourself out of the game because you can't climb back up them. This is also before, if you look at the mini-map, this is before Dragon Ridge was even reworked. So if you look at the, what is it, the 8, 9, and 0 line on the right side of the map, that entire like dark green swampy area, that was before this was even reworked, to where they added in a new flank there. Really, it was a ditch that people drove down into, and usually that's where 90% of the fighting worked out. This is before that rework, so it was really the center where most people fought out. So far though, haven't taken much damage here. Got through, you know, some tough bits. We killed their T10, killed their E75, and now it's just full speed ahead here, since I have a lot of HP left. And we're starting to beat up on some of their lower tier tanks. Now this match, you know, it was quite a doozy, to where that's where I thought the premium round got fired. I could be mistaken though. I was watching the replay to kind of tally up the amount of damage I did. Here we go. Time to finish off this guy here. And the only other flank before the rework on Dragon Ridge was pushing all the way over here, which I almost fall off into a rice paddy here, and luckily I kind of stopped myself. Physics weren't as good back then, where, as you can see, I stopped almost on a dime there. Tanks did move a little bit differently back in the day as well. But more or less, you know, Dragon's Ridge, it's a fun map to where I kind of wish it would make a return, albeit, you know, definitely not in this state. The rebalance version definitely was better, and it needs a couple tweaks, but you know, it's one of those maps where it's going to be interesting to see if it ever gets put back in, because say something like a Mouse, and some of the really slower tanks, you'd be climbing up to get to the center for most of the game, to where it was a unique map given that the center is the highest area, both sides are sloped down a pretty drastic amount, to where there's a lot of different terrain elevation differences. And for those of you that don't like Arty, it was really hard for Arty to shoot a lot of places, because Arty more or less spawned lower than the top, and it was hard to shoot up. But so far I've got 5 kills this match. I still have a good amount of my HP. Our team's, you know, pretty much in cleanup mode, where they still have an E5 left and a couple lower tiers. But more or less I end up doing in this match 5,384 damage. You probably see it in the title anyway. As far as block damage, I'm not sure how much I actually blocked. I end up blocking, I believe, 10 shots, but calculating that, you know, is really a crapshoot, given that things were balanced differently. And this E5, I don't know where exactly he went. Most likely he was a little bit over more east of me in the beginning of the match. He actually typed something in chat here saying, "You should fight me head on next time." Well, we won. So take that. I just get hit by Arty here. I completely forget that there's an SPG. But luckily, yeah, here, he said next time right at me 110, you damn coward. But I'm trying to get this last kill here for the Top Gun award. I miss out on the next shot, but I finally do get it in the T150. But I'm too busy typing here. You know, at least I won to the T110E5, and I missed out on the Arty. So a pretty fun match and a pretty good look back at Dragon Ridge, and also the god-awful in-game end screen here. It only shows a limited amount of detail in the grand scheme of things. But I end up getting a Top Gun award, Sniper award, which I'm just going to restart it here since the replay ended. But more or less, you know, looking back on Dragon's Ridge and, you know, balance how it used to be in the game, it's definitely something to take for granted in today's game, to where I will agree that, like, back then, having no premium rounds as available as they are now was a nice thing, because armor mattered. However, you gotta feel bad for the low tier tanks in this match, where maybe 1 or 2 shots that they took at me pinned me, whereas in today's game, not that tier 6s see tier 10s, but they would at least have a chance to be able to penetrate me there. Even like tier 7s and, you know, tier 8s and stuff. To where in today's game they can penetrate weak spots. Granted, I do think, you know, they need to tone them back a little bit, because they are very prevalent, but it's a completely different look at the game, you know, going back to 2012, where you rarely saw premium shells. The matchmaking was so much different. You had maps like Dragon Ridge, because there's a few other maps like Port, Pearl River, Hidden Village, there's a few other, like Northwest, I think Severosk maybe, I think there was one, I forget, there's like one other removed one, where these maps were pretty unique, especially compared to today's maps, to where, yes, this was a tough map to play, and a lot of times your team, like, did not know how to play it very well, especially after they tweaked the map and added in another flank. But it was pretty fun back in today's game, for better or for worse, but it was a nice little look back on this. You know, thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this replay. I enjoyed going back and looking at these little flashbacks. Hopefully you guys enjoy them too. So have a nice one.